Hello, and welcome to a special Advent 7 podcast. I am Professor Shinobi, and I am joined today with Trey.
What's up, everybody?
And, I can't say that I was planning on doing this podcast today, and I don't think I was planning on doing this for a long time, in all honesty.
Yeah, honestly, today is not fun.
Yeah, today was supposed to be really happy because today is Yuze's birthday of all days. It's supposed to be Bungie Day for Halo. It's supposed to be our man Bill Butts' birthday. And it's supposed to be really, really cool, but unfortunately today is the day that we have to remember the loss of Kazuki Takahashi, the creator for what I can only describe as probably one of the most influential anime for me personally.
Oh, definitely. It shaped a generation, an entire set of childhoods was shaped by this man.
Yeah, and we're also gonna do our absolute darndest to not cry on stream because tears don't look good on podcasts.
Yeah, unless we're on Facecam and we're trying to get all the clicks.
Yeah, well, I think more than clicks, it's more about talking about one of the very important things that Yu-Gi-Oh! Talks about over and over again, whether it's the original, the GX, 5Ds. It boils down to one word, and I want to make sure that we make this clear. It's bonds. At the end of the original series, Atem has to go away. And they are sad. They're hurt. They're scared. But they don't stop being his friend. And that is something that I feel like we all have here today, is that even though the creator for this series is gone, the bonds are still there.
His work is still out there.
Yeah.
His amazing card game will continue to go on and on.
Yeah.
There's no way in heck they're gonna let that money train stop.
Oh, absolutely not. It's kind of funny when you think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist was supposed to be the shorter of the series, and I can literally turn around to my bookshelf right now. It's got 24 volumes besides Millennium World. The original manga for Yu-Gi-Oh! is 7!
Wow.
So we're talking about a series that is like 3 times longer than the entire series that it spawned from. And that's just the beginning. I mean, this guy wrote easily hundreds of chapters.
Easily.
Yeah, and even for series that he didn't have a direct hand in, his influence, his characters, his storylines are all there. And he's touched our lives in so many ways. Like, you've been part of video projects where, like, it was directly a ripoff of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's a parody of what we love.
Yep. It's like, there are so many memories that I have because of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was in my life.
Yeah.
Like, let me take you guys back to 2001. When the game first... Well, at least for me and many people in my generation, where the anime first started, where the game first started, where it first hit on Kids WB, getting that glorious 4Kids dub with all the changes necessary to make sure we knew that the Shadow Realm was a place instead of death.
Oh, yeah, it's not hell. It's literally not hell. It's just a place where you wander the shadows for all eternity. God. I have words about the 4Kids dub on that one, but yeah, more on the edits, really. The dub is fantastic, funny enough. Like,
yeah, the dub is great, but it's the edits that always get you. But God,
oh my yes.
But God, if you weren't excited as all heck when you went into your local Walmart, Best Buy, wherever cards were sold, and you saw the original starter decks of Kaiba, Yugi, Joey, and Pegasus, just like, ah, so cool.
When you see a poster that's for something called The Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and you're just like, I don't know what any of those words mean, but I want it. It's so fascinating that he's only really known for one, maybe two games as well. Because, like, Dungeon Dice Monsters, we can get into that as well. But the one thing I do want to illustrate before we go to that is that he's actually designed multiple games. In the back of, like, every single volume of the original Yu-Gi-Oh!, he has a new and different game that you can play that's fully fleshed out with different rules. And he always had something that was the mantra of, I don't want people connected just by screens. I want people to be able to face each other face to face in a game. And even if you win, even if you lose, you both come out better.
It's like this man really took gaming to the next level.
Oh, he absolutely did. It's so funny to see that today we have Kickstarters for hundreds of different board games and card games, and seeing a true renaissance of, like, what can we really do with board games. And this man, back in the early 2000s, had the idea of being able to just sit down and play and design constantly. So typically for these podcasts, we also have images go by and backgrounds that are specific for it, and I genuinely wish I knew who the artist was for this. When I did a reverse image search, it literally links to an old Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series link that is dead. So if you know the artist in the comments, please, please, please let us know. But I like this piece a lot because it's weirdly relevant to his passing, because, like, even Mako Tsunami, he has a story that even the 4Kids dub, he just lost his dad, he doesn't know where he is. And, of course, in the sub, he died. That was the point of this. But this is one where I remember he looks to the sea and goes, I know when it is calm, I know when it is angry, but it's always there for me. Like, we should be mad at the ocean for taking away someone that was very important to us. But all the lessons, all the memories are still there. And nature decides to be really, really ominous outside my window. I apologize.
Right, didn't he die at sea? Isn't that what I was hearing?
So, spoilers for, like, episode 6 or 7 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Mako describes that the reason he wants to win the tournament in the dub, the way that we saw this as kids, was that he needs money to buy a boat, to go out and find his dad because the life raft was missing. But the sub tells a much more honest story of, there's a really nasty storm when he's out with his father, who's a fisherman, and he says, I need to tie you to the mast so that no matter what happens, you're not going to sink, you're not going to drown, you're not going to get flung off the boat. And his dad tries to take the helm, and he doesn't make it. And it was weird, because, like, it's a show that before episode 10 is talking about a character who genuinely passed away, and what do we do with the grief for it? And Mako doesn't wallow in it. He is stronger because he knows how to move on and become a legendary duelist of the ocean, even if he's kind of an eccentric idiot. But you know what? A good chunk of the cast of Yu-Gi-Oh! Are eccentric idiots, and we love all of them.
Exactly. But yeah, I was pointing out that at least from the news articles I've seen, Kazuki was found at the sea, so
yeah,
it's very fitting on multiple levels, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to exploit it. Like, I heard about his passing, and this is the first image that comes to my head, because it's a great piece, because it's mourning, but also remembering the good times, and that's kind of what I want to do here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways that we've had this interact in our lives. I've done cosplay from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Nice.
Which is kind of funny because it's the one time that I will agree with 4Kids with the name of a character. His name is Grady in the dub. In the sub, they're trying to take Yuze down, and there's this new ominous figure who is summoning a dark synchro monster, and he tells that he is a follower of the ancient ones who will take down the signers, the dark signers. And it's like, oh wow, this is cool. He's not even like a high level threat, he's fun, and he loses the duel, and then he loses all memories of being possessed, and Carly goes up to him and goes, Dick? Dick Pitt, is that you? And I'm like, who the heck chose the naming scheme for this? Just like, why? Why would you name him that? You have the entire English language and this is what you picked.
It's the perfect pick. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh my god. So yes, I have cosplayed a character named Dick Pitt. Put that in the wiki if you really want to. But it was fun. Like, it was great to be able to have a dual disc. And, I mean, let's just talk a second for that. Dual discs are obviously one of the coolest designs we've seen in anime for a long time for an item.
Oh, wholeheartedly. Once again, I still have my dual disc from when I was a child. When I was a kid, me and my friends, we all played Yu-Gi-Oh! And we held a tournament just before, like, the dual disc came out. And then when the dual disc came out, all of us started getting dual disc, and, like, some of us got the Seal of Orichalco's version of it.
Oh, yeah, the sliding one that actually had a swing-out bay for the, field spell, and it was just ever so slightly larger, because it's like, oh, people's sleeve cards!
But yeah, we had a small tournament that was kind of trying to be like Pegasus tournament. I forget the name of the tournament now. Why am I blanking on it?
Duelist Kingdom.
Duelist Kingdom, that is what it was. God.
Yeah, you do a panel for 10 years and you start to memorize some of the highlights.
But yeah, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically was childhood personified for me.
It was.
It's like I wasn't the best player around, but I always spent afternoons on random card catalog sites just being like, ooh, look how pretty some of these cards are. I kind of would love to get this card, but I know I can't.
Oh, God, there is so much of my life in, like, high school and early college. I kid you not, I would get bored, I would just go to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia, and I would read. And there was so much lore, deck text, artworks, combos that came up, and it was a deep, deep dive that I somehow scubaed myself out of. Just, oh, man. It's interesting that we haven't really talked that much about, like, the actual card game about it. I don't know about you, I have probably sunk no less than 2,000 hours into the video games alone.
Speaking of video games,
oh.
some of my favorite games of all time were Yu-Gi-Oh! Games. Dude, Capsule Monsters was legit my favorite thing, and it was like the biggest wall I had to climb for years because I kept getting stuck at a certain duel, and I would just put the game away and never touch it until I finally beat it, like just after I moved here to Nebraska, so like a decade ago.
Right.
I finally sat down and gone through and finally made it to the end of that game.
You have done better than me in that regard. I actually never finished Capsule Monsters. I did respect the grind that you had to do for that game. There definitely was a lot of strategy for that one.
Oh yeah, like once again, this was chess on a new level, and once again, Takahashi Sensei literally is a master game designer.
Like seriously, I mean, this guy designed Yu-Gi-Oh! To basically be Magic the Gathering, but what if your extra deck or fusion deck was somehow basically a side deck you had access to at all times? In Magic, they called that a wish board. It's named after a card called, I forget what the original one is. The popular one that people use is called Glittering Wish. You play it, and you say, okay, I go through my sideboard, and I can pull any card that's multicolored for that one, and it goes into my hand. Well, the same mechanic works here, where instead, at all times, you always have the fusion potential. And I mean, let's be honest, when you're a kid, fusion is like, I can make a bigger monster!
It's so cool, but also the biggest pain when you don't have the cards in the deck. Like,
oh my god, yes!
Pulling random boosters and getting fusion cards, it's like, awesome! Like, crap, because that was all GX was about, was fusion, and half my decks are just incomplete because I'm like, I have Shining Flare Wingman, but I don't have Flame Wingman to play him!
Or even worse, it's like, oh great, I have Shining Phoenix Enforcer! Great! Now I need 5 cards! That was definitely a good time. It's funny, because that game also went through a couple iterations legally. The first time was when they said, okay guys, the fusion deck doesn't need to be 30 cards. It needs to be 15, because otherwise everyone is going to be playing Elemental Heroes. Which basically was, what if Marvel Comics did fusion every single day?
Yep. And once again, like, the hero decks were my favorite decks when GX hit. It was like, that's
so fun.
It's like when you watch, and if you watch our Yu-Gi-Oh video, I was playing a hero deck because why not?
It's generic enough that it allowed you to swing for games. It had a little bit of versatility, and honestly, the art for it is just fun. There was a lot of really cool ideas about what happens when you mix water and fire. What do you mix when you get water and air? What happens when you mix water, air, and electricity? What if some of them were from space?
Yep, the Neospatians.
Although, funny enough, now that we're talking about heroes for that, one of the ways that I am trying to cope with the bad news of all this is I literally ordered Kazuki Takahashi's Marvel comic, Secret Reverse.
Oh, wow. Wait, what's happening? What's going on in that one?
Okay, I have not read it. So at the time of recording, I have not read it. I literally just ordered it today. Here's the premise that I know after reading like 7 pages and read the premise. Iron Man and Spider-Man go to Japan, and there's an evil card game CEO letting loose on Tokyo. That's all I know.
I could buy it.
I bought it because it's like, you know what? If I don't buy it now, lots of people might later, and I was thinking about buying it anyways because it's like, wait, that's an official Marvel license. What the
Marvel
what?
does have a whole manga thing. Like, they do a lot of crossovers with manga.
Oh, they do. But it's also something different where you see Kazuki Takahashi's name on the front cover, and it's not like, oh, well, he wrote a short story. It's like, he wrote a flippin' book! and that's something that I do really seriously want to read, and it's so interesting that a lot of times when you go to manga and anime, they're almost 1-to-1. Slight variations here and there. There are some night and day differences when you go between, like, oh, I watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, I'll read the manga. Who are these people? And it's like, yes, these are the legendary planets. And it's like, what? It's like, yeah, there's a series of 9 cards based around the planets and the sun.
I have that deck, but I think that was back in 5Ds.
Yeah, it was it was printed around that time. Because Tyrant Neptune actually got banned because they're like, oh, maybe giving an ability with different attack points is a bad idea. Oh, but man, you want to talk about wild? The Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds manga, if you thought card games on motorcycles was weird, wait till you see Doulahans on dead horses versus motorcycles.
Oh my god. So some of the stuff that got cut from the show, right?
Yes. It's just like, that's a little weird. We'll put it in the manga. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I like 5Ds.
It's like, we won't have you motorcycles racing the Headless Horseman. That's a step too far.
That's a step too far. Having Robot Future God fly into the sunset along with Yusei, who gets the magic ability to have his D-Wheel fly into the atmosphere to watch the sun crest over the earth, that needs to be in the show. And you know what? I respect it for that. Oh, man. It's so funny because, like, if you ask me right now, 5Ds is still my favorite. And my origin story for that story is I literally told it, you get one duel. And then I watched it. And then I went, it's gladiatorial fights on chariot races. This is amazing.
Yep.
And there are rocky times in that show, I will not lie, but that show is so good. If nothing else, that the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Does really, really well as well. It has an ending.
Yeah.
It has a good ending. There's a bit. I went to go see Dan Green in PC at Planet Comic Con this year, and he says he loves that show because it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there are so many shows anymore that will have a beginning, they might get a middle, and then they just drop.
Yeah.
And this one feels like we don't need to tell more of the story. We can have movies, OVH specials, side things, manga, whatever. But there's nothing that I'm going to go up to that manga and go, but what happens next? And it's like, but that's the end of the story. Atem found his way home. Yugi proved his worth. Or when you go to GX, like, that's also a really great ending. Like, the ability for having someone who is a hardcore player, has lost sight of what he came there for, and then gets told by a high-end professional that's like, you lost your love of the game. And at that point, we don't see the ending of that duel, and so many people have asked me at a panel where it's like, oh, well, who won the duel? And I'm like, I don't think you understood the ending.
Yeah,
the ending is that's not the point. The point is that he has fun now. If he won, great. It means that he's still a fantastic duelist. And if he lost, it was to one of the best in history.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't by like Yugi just trounced him the whole freaking time. There was no contest. It's like, this was close to the point that you're asking me. And just every single time that those series ended, it ends on a good note, everyone gets a send-off, and it's something I wish a lot more anime, especially shonen, did.
Yeah, well, that's only the benefit of the sub. The dub, you got the ending.
Oh God!
You got the ending for you. You got the ending for OG Yu-Gi-Oh. You didn't get the ending. It's like you ended at season 3 for GX.
I'm sorry.
It's like you only sort of got the ending for 5Ds. It was very weird.
Oh, it's so weird for GX. It's bye, Jaden. Hope you live well in space and didn't die in the atmosphere. Hope Yubel didn't hug you to death. Wonder what happened to you.
Yep. It's like, I think they started having endings again after that. Like, Zexal has an ending.
Yes.
Arc 5 has an ending. I assume Vrains has an ending, but I didn't watch Vrains, so I don't know. And 7th is still going on, so...
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, after 5Ds, a lot of my interest waned, and I've been told that Zexal does get better. Its beginning is super weak.
Oh, beyond weak. Like, Yuma is he's just not a good protagonist at all. Astral is the better part of the entire series.
Right, and a lot of times I've had people say that they liked it because he's not a professional. And he's not a prodigy, but it's like... But then we have to watch him grow by like, Yuma, this is what a trap card is, you flipping moron. It's like, oh my lord, please just tell me how this ends. And it does get better. I haven't watched it. And
it ends with an alien invasion.
Oh my god, yeah, it has. Straight up alien invasion. Not unlike 5Ds, by the way. where it's like, okay, so let me get this straight. The future is aliens and the Terminator at the same time. And y'all were like, we need to fix the timeline. Drop a building on Pegasus.
Yes, Bonds Beyond Time. One of like the best dream I've ever had.
Oh my god! Let's be honest. If I'm trying to review that as a Criterion Collection movie, terrible. If I'm trying to rank this as a Yu-Gi-Oh movie, holy raw, that is the best one. Like, you get everything. You get Yuze, you get Jaden, you get Yugi, you get them all to work together, you get a fun new villain, you get a fun new archetype. Like, I ran Malefics in tournaments. That was such a fun deal, where it's like, oh yeah, huge enormous dragon, skill drain, you have no effects. Do you have more attack points? Thank you. Next round, please.
Synchro what?
Synchro what? Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, that also leads us to the abridged series, which it's almost impossible to do a reflection on Yu-Gi-Oh! Without talking about Martin Billany, aka Little Karibo's
Magnum Opus.
I was trying to think if Magnum Opus was too much, but it's really not. Like, the man started a bridge series and is still freaking going and is still making amazing work. He's such a cool dude in real life. Like, I met him all the way over at MomoCon in Georgia.
Wow.
And I've met him twice. He was on 2 different conventions that I was at. And what had happened was that he wasn't listed as a guest. He was a vendor. Dude was like, yeah, I don't like doing the lines there, and I don't get to talk with people nearly as much, and so I just have a booth for Shark Robot, and I sell my shirts. And he would sign stuff for people there. So one of the things that I did for him was that I just gave him a stack of Karibo cards because I knew he was going to be there a while, and so that way if anyone didn't have anything to sign, they would have something. And through a connection, I just so happened to know his roommate. Long story on that one, and I'm not going to dox him for this, but I know his roommate, and I was able to get him a bunch of cards, and just said, the next time you need these, do with them as you want. So, LK, if you're listening to this, thank you. Like, seriously. Holy crap. I blame the fact that I'm on this podcast right now because of that man. Like, he was in a time where a lot of my friends weren't playing Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. We've moved on to high school, and like I still enjoy it. I still want to play it, and man, he just rolls out with some really good humor and starts really working on the series to say, I love this series, but you know it's about a children's card game, right?
Yep, a children's card game that'll save the world.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Well, to the point.
Itself.
To the point that in season, I think it's 4, with darts, the U.S. Navy, I will remind you, the Navy of the United States of America goes over to the island and it's like, we can't enter. How about we hire a CEO and a world champion of moving cardboard and see if they can save the world instead? I'm like, bro, you got nukes.
It
I'm
got
pretty
nothing
sure.
on these. It's got nothing on these
president.
magic. It's like these cards can summon dragons that are real, man. They can't do jack.
This card summons a fluff ball with green legs. It has 300 attack points, which is about the strength of a human skeleton in a purple robe. And this is what we're gonna send to save the world. And everybody was like, yes.
I mean, look at Kaiba. He built an empire around his favorite card, the Blue Eyes White Dragon, to the point where he can build a time machine in space.
I love the dub for that movie because, oh my god, the fact that he has the robot inflate his ego as part of his programming. It's so beautiful. I don't know the name of the line director, you need a raise. Because the line of, fire whoever designed that bottle, Kaiba Corp items do not break that easily, freaking broke me in theaters. Oh my. That also has a really, really cool moment where Yugi goes to a tournament, quote unquote, because it's only 3 people there that's gonna fight. And it's like, oh, Agami and I, Seto, the new god of the VR world, shall deign you worthy to fight me once. And Yugi is like, hold up. You're fighting me. Well, I'm the one I said shut up. I'm gonna fight you, then I'm gonna fight him, and I'm gonna embarrass you in front of every single one of your stockholders. Considering the options, I will listen to Yuki, and he can go first. I'm like, did you just out-ego Kaiba? How? This is how we know Yugi grew as a character, is that he got the tell off Kaiba in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people, and Kaiba lost.
It's because Kaiba didn't want little Yugi. He wanted big Yugi.
Yes, he wants the Pharaoh. Oh god. You want to talk about painful moments in theater history. The moment that he pulls out the last Millennium item puzzle piece, and he slides it into the puzzle, and he goes, Kaiba, I tried. I'm sorry. He's gone. It hits a little bit different now. Especially with the loss of Kazuki Takahashi-sensei, but it's such a powerful scene where it's just how 2 different people grieve for the exact same person.
Exactly.
And then just an absolute stunning silence. You see the Pharaoh summon 1 card and win the game. And if you're a super fan, which obviously you are when you're in the theaters watching this movie.
Oh yeah.
You know that it wins. You know it works, but it's still a great and impactful moment. I'll never forget, I had been at that panel for Dan Green and one of the people in line had said, there's a moment in Dark Side of Dimensions that little Yugi gets to see Atem again. What do you think he says to him? And Dan Green, in his infinite wisdom, says, he says what you thought he did. Like, the silence is so powerful, because no matter what you think it's gonna say, it's there, and it means something to you because of it. There's a lot of strength in silence, which 5Ds does a really good job of that, too. But the funny thing is that Dan immediately heel turns and goes, so, Yugi, did you see the latest Spider-Man movie? It's just, everyone freaking loses it. I could not believe it. Just because it's so funny, because Dan Green is also a huge comic book nerd.
Yep. So
and I'm willing to bet he has Secret Reverse as well, and has written it, and probably has a review stored somewhere for it. But yeah, this is nice. Being able to remember what Kazuki Takahashi gave us, instead of being sad that he's gone. And we might not ever see another series like this in our lifetime. And I know it sounds like hyperbole, because it's like, oh, well, anime's going to exist. Anime with good endings is going to exist. But, man, how many different shows can you think of that you can describe as sincerely part of your childhood, sincerely part of a huge gaming community, and sincerely has so many different perspectives and characters of interest that really makes an impact on people? And literally the only one that I can think of when I'm saying all this is Pokemon.
I was about to say, it's like Pokemon, like, is the only other one that has that same amount of power. Technically more, because it's Pokemon. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it is Pokemon, and I might draw hate by saying this, but I think the anime for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a little bit stronger than Pokemon.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
Except in anime openings for the English dub, Pokemon does infinitely better in that. I'll be very honest.
Hey, that 5D's opening will never stop being a banger.
I actually had the 5D's opening from Japan, Last Train, as my ringtone for a very long time. Oh man, that one goes hard. And it's so interesting that, like, even music for these series is wildly different. For the original, in the sub, you get orchestras. Like, at first you're like, why would you ever do orchestras? It's the same question I had for Dragon Ball. I'm not gonna lie, I like the US music for Dragon Ball better.
Falconer is a godsend, and we will never deserve him more.
No, absolutely not. And we are just gonna be eternally thankful that he exists at all. Man, like, I don't know, you haven't played Master Duels nearly as much, have you?
No, but I've heard some of the music, and it's like solid music, and I played Duel Links, so that was always a nice time.
Duel Links has decent music, and I enjoyed that for a time, where it's like, okay, it's a fun new format, we get to do new things here and there, the community actually is being listened to. Like, okay, Konami, you're probably listening to this, look at me. Give us the updates like you do for Duel Links and Master Duels. Explain why you ban cards. Don't leave us in the dark. That might be one of the more negative things I say on this podcast, but seriously, you're doing an amazing job with those other two. What is up with the multi-billion-dollar card game?
We're just trying to sell cardboard. We're selling gambling to kids. It's fine.
I mean, yeah, so is Pokemon. But you can still have a good job about doing that.
It's like Pokemon never bans cards. They just change the format so you can't use them anymore.
I mean, that's also Magic the Gathering if we really want to get into that. But yeah, that's another thing, is that I really do wish that Yu-Gi-Oh! For all of Kazuki Takahashi's amazing game design, has basically only made like 3, maybe 4 versions of playing this game, and I'm including everything being banned, or, oh, instead of banned, it's limit 1. Like, it is fascinating to me that there are so many card games out there with multiple formats, and the man who designs a card game doesn't introduce other formats. But he did give us Dungeon Dice Monsters, and I will still be sad that it's gone. For all that slighty matty goodness that it gave us. Oh my lord. Like, I love you, Takahashi, but whoever you approved to do little paper glossy mats to sit glossy tiles on top of did not play design that correctly. But I love that game the same.
It's like the concept work. The concept is fun.
Oh man, you want to talk about great episodes in Yu-Gi-Oh? Dungeon Dice Monsters is legitimately amazing on so many levels. Introducing a new fun character, introducing the concept of draft, new outfits for everybody,
yep.
And a whole new game that we now can actually call Yugi the King of Games with an S at the end.
It's like, he's not the king of game, he's the king of games.
Yes!
Like he beat someone at a game he's never played before. What you gonna do?
Well, I mean, it's so funny, considering the original manga for this is basically Saw, but with an Egyptian pharaoh instead of a puppet.
Yeah. It's like, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0 is, it's a different time to be had.
It's a different breed. It is something more akin to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I do not say that lightly.
Made at around the same time, so that makes sense. Araki and Takahashi probably talked a lot.
Takahashi mentioned that Araki was one of his favorite mangaka. His favorite comic that he mentioned was actually American. It was Hellboy.
I can believe
freaking love Hellboy.
Hellboy, that makes so much sense.
Doesn't it? It's also so funny when you looked at Studio Dice, the studio that he owns, and they have a wall of movies I can only describe as that scene from Beauty and the Beast when Belle opens her eyes, but instead of books, it's movie spines. And he mentions, like, yeah, my favorite movie's probably Jaws. And I'm like, wait, Jaws? Steven Spielberg Jaws is your favorite movie. That is so fascinating. I would not have expected him to be, like, an OG film fanatic, but he really is.
Yeah.
And, like, dude knew his stuff.
It really is just... The man was definitely something we can all strive for.
Oh,
to find a
yes.
passion that you just absolutely love and just do it. To just be happy. It's like, I hope that even though he is gone, that he is up there just designing more and more games, that more and more fantastical games. He's gonna come back through a Millennium item and teach us a new game.
We just gotta wait for the year 3022.
Yes.
Heaven just got a lot louder because he's still rolling dice up there, yeah. It's so interesting seeing all the different, like, video games that came out for it too, because my favorite actually hasn't been mentioned yet. I actually was a huge fan of Falsebound Kingdom.
I do not. Well, tell me about that one.
Okay, so Falsebound Kingdom has this for a premise. Yugi and Kaiba are going into a virtual world pod to play a virtual reality game. But they get stuck. And in this game, they use duel monsters in a medieval format to basically describe like Fire Emblem or Tactics Ogre, if I've been told as well, where every single duelist has 3 monsters under them, and they will go out and they will try to take forts, defend forts, and try to kidnap their monsters to recruit them to use them later. So like Joey would use like Red Ice Dragon, he would use he would use Jinzo, he would use all of his OG stuff. It's also the time that we find out that there are 3 different names for the Blue Eyes White Dragons. Because Kaiba literally goes on a mission into the mountains to get all 3 Blue Eyes. The hype thing about this is 2 things. Number 1, polymerization is an item that you can use to fuse your units if you have the material monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And if you beat the game and you go back for New Game Plus, you get the God card that you beat at the end of that level, of that section. So for Yugi, if you beat his storyline, you get access to summon Slifer the Sky Dragon as a unit for one battle. Oh, it's so hype. And then the third storyline is Joey, who gets Raw.
I was about to say, it's like Joey has to get Raw then. That's the only
Yes, he does. And it's so interesting. Like, I kid you not, you could have stripped everything Yu-Gi-Oh! From that game, and I still would have loved it. It had really fun music. It had an interesting strategy to it where it's like, I actually have to retake fortresses. I have to put this person here. I have to defend this unit. I have to prevent my commander from dying. Because if I lose them, then I lose the entire round. And so it's this weird mix of like Fire Emblem and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Tactics Ogre. And it's kind of a hot mess in some regards because like, you're going to be doing tons of menuing. I ain't going to lie to you. You're going to be sitting through a menu. But if you were a fanboy and you're like, I'm going to build the best Yu-Gi team ever. You did. And eventually you can learn to evolve monsters. You can use ritual summons to upgrade monsters and basically advance summon them. Where you would turn Gaia into Blackluster Soldier.
Wow.
It's such a cool game. And I really do recommend it. It was for the Nintendo GameCube, and I don't think it ever got reprinted, which is really, really sad.
Yeah, it's like, I definitely don't remember hearing about that. It's like, the only ones I have very firm memories of are there. I remember playing a version of Yu-Gi-Oh! On the Game Boy, but I could not tell you what that game was, because I think that was a friend's game that I probably played.
I mean, we got the internet, I can double check on that.
But the other one is the other PS2 game that I played a little bit of but never finished, which was Duelist of the Rose.
Duelist of the Roses, oh my god. Okay, I ain't gonna lie to you, that one isn't my favorite. So the one that you're thinking of, I believe, is called Dark Duel Stories?
So could not tell you. That was literally 2 decades and a half ago.
And it wasn't numbers.
And it wasn't even my game, so I wouldn't remember the name of it. It was just, I remembered that it was a game. It was on probably the Game Boy, and it was just 8-bit Yu-Gi-Oh! So I just remember that much.
Dark Duel Stories.
Okay.
That is the only one with like the 3 Egyptian gods on there. And you would have to face, like, really, like, I love this game, but I also understand that it was super, super 8-bit. Like, the center of the screen is basically, this is the card art of the one you're highlighting. And I'll show you which one I'm talking about. I can send you a link on that. But, yeah, oh man, I love that one. Duels of the Roses, I want to hear your take on it first.
Well, like I said, I did not get far in that game. I played maybe the first 3 duels before either I gave it up, or because I know I played it at a friend's place and then I got it and then at some point I just gave up on it. But it was just, I just remember thinking, well, this is an interesting thing, and it was always funny when you chose to be on Seto's side for the duels.
Yes.
So the summoner could be like, why would you betray us like this?
Oh man. you would love Falsebound Kingdom because Kaiba absolutely does not care. It's just like, oh my, we're being surrounded. You're a bunch of ones and zeros. I do not care about you. Just get me out of here. What? Ones is... What are you talking about? We're surrounded! Oh, it's so delightfully tasty about what they do for that game. But yeah, it's... I've put the, games in the chat so you can look at them.
Like, I cannot remember if that was the one, but
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's all good. Like, man, you want to talk about what did I get for Christmas every year for like 5 years? Was the newest Yu-Gi-Oh game on Nintendo Game Boy Advance. Oh,
yeah, I just got decks and cards every Christmas for like a deck, like at least 5 years, close to 7 at least.
Oh yeah. And at some point, you just told them, I'm gonna buy it with my actual money, so you probably need to get me a different gift. And then they got you, like, accessories. Well, actually, one of the cool things that my wife gave me was I have a gold sarcophagus, if you've seen the card. They made it into a deck box.
Nice.
There's an artist by the name of Leaf Kicker who makes what I can only describe as art pieces for deck boxes. And one of them that he made was based off of the gold sarcophagus from Yu-Gi-Oh! The box that Yu-Gi holds all the pieces of the Millennium Puzzle in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. I literally keep it on my desk because I do not want to lose this thing.
That's fair, that's fair. Yeah, I just have a crap ton of tin boxes, and then I bought I bought all 3 of the when they came out with those legacy boxes, where the first one where it was all 3 Egyptian gods, because that is...
Oh my god, yes!
My childhood dream was just to own them. I didn't care if they were term and legal or not. I just wanted the ones that were from the anime. The ones with the colors and everything.
It's so funny, because I remember getting, like, a suitcase from a friend of mine in college who's like, I don't know how much these ones are worth. Do you want to pay $20 for them? And it turns out that they were real. And it's like, these are worth, like, $25 a piece. Hot dang.
Wait, let's go.
Yo, yeah, that was absolutely a let's go moment. I kept that case for a very long time as my dueling box.
Yeah, it's like I have that first Legacy collection, the second one where it has a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX stuff, including the Sacred Beast, and then the 5Ds one they came out with. I think those are the only ones they came out with. And then I bought this and then because I go through these stints. It's like, once I stopped watching Yu-Gi-Oh! After 5Ds, I would go through these stints of like, do I want to keep playing the game? Yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's hard.
got
like a lot of this game is, I've been told, like, MMORPGs and card games live and die on their player bases.
Yeah.
A lot of reasons I've heard people did not play or used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Was I didn't have people nearby. Now, we're not sponsored, but if you feel that way, just go play Master Duels. I kid you not, it is the best experience. It's officially supported. It does a really good job at being a tutorial. There are some really fun things that you get to learn about archetypes.
Yeah.
Like, they have little vignettes of stories of all of them, and I'm like, I have wanted this my entire life. And on top of this, and I'm calling you out, Magic, we can dust cards! We can break 3 really bad ultra rares in half and go, can I have, that new Destiny Phoenix Enforcer card? This one's like $100 in the TCG. Here you go. And it's such a good time that if you want to play solo, if you want to play online, if you want to play competitive, there's avenues for you to play it on there. So,
yeah. I
know that he would have wanted us to play face-to-face, and you still can. You can still connect with people about this. Like we've shown, we've nearly talked for an hour at this point.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see the bond that comes from something that was just, how do we learn to be better through competition and not try to tear each other down, but build each other up?
The wrong lesson from Yu-Gi-Oh! I've learned that if you want to win, you cheat by sending people's souls to the Shadow Realm.
Those are typically the villains, Trey.
Fair.
But yeah, but a lot of it also, funny enough, like in the original Yu-Gi-Oh, man, this is gonna go back. There was a panel I hosted with a friend of mine who eventually became my best man at my wedding, called "How to Look Cool While You Duel." We didn't really help looking cool. I will just tell you that right now. But it was basically like, what are some of the jokes that we had about this? And one of the things that we cracked a joke about is how in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're evil, it's not your fault. Pegasus just wants his wife back. Like, Darts is trying to bring his wife back.
A lot of dead wives.
A lot of, I guess, yeah. Bakuro, like, his entire freaking village was massacred by the Pharaoh. And he kind of wants revenge. Like, if you're Zork, you're just made of evil. Like, literally. If you're Seto, the priest, then it's like, your father betrayed you and killed your lover. Like,
I turned into the Blue Eyes White Dragon.
And turned into the Blue Eyes White Dragon. She is very cute. I am not gonna lie. You have great waifu designs. Blue Eyes White Dragon, easily A tier.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so interesting that it's like there were so many times that even on like one of the most evil characters I could think of was Merrick. Merrick had a rough life.
Oh yeah. It's like, you almost can't blame him for going nuts.
Oh my... He is burdened with so much. He literally has ritualistic scars put onto him that 4Kids censored, by the way, because it's like, maybe showing the burning knife going into a prepubescent teen's flesh is a little too hardcore, except for Odeon, who did that on his face!
Yeah.
Ugh. But, yeah, it's such a great moment on that, and, like, man, you want to talk about Shakespearean writing? I'm not kidding! Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Kiryu Kyusuke is a freaking villain who came back from the dead to get revenge on his old team because he started a war with the police. Like, woof!
Oh, you're talking
about
Callan.
Oh, yeah, in order to become a Dark Signer, you need to die. And he's like, yeah, okay, that sounds fair. And then goes back to try to get revenge on it, and spoilers, I mean, if you've reached this far, you've probably seen too many spoilers of us and you're a huge fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we all love and respect you. But Yusei is shown that he was actually going to take the fall. He was going to go to prison for having Kiryu kill a cop and bomb a cop building. Like, those are not easy short sentences. He was basically gonna go away to prison for the rest of his life for his friend. And Kiryu never knew that until after the duel.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the what? This is about a card game on motorcycles!
Yeah, well, Callan learned the truth and then had to atone in the Old West.
Oh my god. Okay. Please tell me I am not the only one that thought Brokeback Mountain the whole dang time.
Wait, what? Hold up, what?
Okay, there is a man involved with the stake of who owns a mountain, and he turns around to someone that he knew and loved and said, I wish I knew how to quit you. Like, this is just Brokeback Mountain. On top of what I can only describe as the greatest middle finger to 4Kids in my life. So, context. you have a duel in a Midwest town that's the old West. I don't know how far this is for Domino, but apparently it's driving distance. And they have guns on their holsters, and they're like, when the sun hits the horizon, we draw. Draw the gun, put it on your wrist, draw 5 cards. First one to draw the 5 cards goes first. And I'm like, there are gun duel discs.
Yep.
4Kids is having an aneurysm right now. Fine.
I think 4Kids was out of the dubbing business at that point, so it was like 4K media, so they didn't have to censor it as much. That's why they were just like, they were still guns in the dub. They were still guns.
It gets so much funnier because there's one element I haven't brought up yet. So Yuze loses, goes to the mountain, comes all the way back, re-challenges him to a duel, and I look at the background and I'm like, what the? They forgot to spell the classy glass right. Okay, whatever, it's really tiny, who knows? And I see it again, and it's slightly closer, and I'm like, no, that clearly says the classy glass. It cuts to one scene, which I have screen capped. It does not say the classy glass. There is no G, there is no L, there is only the classy ass.
Oh no.
It said the classy ass, and I'm like, what kind of bar are we running here?
The classiest of bars.
The classiest of asses, I will tell you what. There is no low-class ass here. We got classy ass here. It's so beautiful. And the fact that I saved this as, I think I literally saved the file as screw you 4Kids censor this. Just such a magical time to watch a series about card games and duel gangs who are wearing leather coats with fur trim. Yep. With nary a woman in sight. Which is interesting because, like, they're not gay because Jack is clearly interested in women. Yuze is clearly interested in women.
Nah, Yuse's interested in motorcycles. Don't act like he's not.
I mean, he's bicycle sexual. That's fine. I tried to say that with a straight face. I wasn't doing so well. Oh. But on that note, it's been about an hour, so do we want to have any last words on that, or?
Yeah, well, final words. Just thank you, Takahashi, for all the memories that I've had, all the memories that I will make, and for the amazing idea of card games on motorcycles. Be the greatest thing that we will never achieve. Also, the first Yu-Gi-Oh movie was so good. I love that. Those trailers with the American soundtrack. Oh my god.
Yeah. I've said it multiple times today. I've posted this on Twitter. You can find it on our Facebook page as well. Thank you, Kazuki Takahashi. You've taught us that bonds are stronger than the loss of somebody, and that no matter what happens, their name, their legacy, their impact never really goes away. Thank you.
Yeah. And with that, we end our turn.